Hello and welcome back to Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons. I'm going to make a pheasant consommé. I've had these pheasant bones in my freezer for a couple of months since I made a lovely pheasant terrine. So now it's time to get this consommé on the go. Let's do it, shall we? There's a recipe printed on the screen for you. So what I've got to do with these vegetables, I've got mirepoix vegetables, stock vegetables, plus the spices there. I've got some juniper berries and black peppercorns. The chicken leg meat is going to be for the raft, which is what makes this, what turns the stock into a crystal clear consommé. So reserve half of the vegetables for later on for the raft, and half of them for now for the stock. And if you've ever made a brown chicken stock, that's basically what we're doing here, but we're using the pheasant carcass. On the recipe there, you would have noticed I put down a chicken carcass as well. I didn't do that in this video because I happen to have some chicken stock that I'd already made in my fridge. Doesn't matter, you don't need any finesse when you chop up these vegetables. You can leave the papery skin on the garlic and the onion, it won't affect it. Do wash your leek though, that's what I've just quickly done there. You don't want gritty bits in your stock. So now you've got all your vegetables and your carcass nice and brown into a nice big stock pot or soup pan, a big enough saucepan effectively, and then don't waste a drop of flavour that's inside the roasting trays, so I swill out some water into it to get all the bits. That's the gold, that's the good stuff. Top it up with some just regular tap water and let that simmer for between 1 and 2 hours. You want to give it plenty of time to get the flavour. So for me, I'm using chicken legs, which is a bit of fiddling around, but I really like the flavour, and the raft that we're making does actually add more flavour to your finished consommé. But by all means, get a chicken breast or two and just roughly chop them up. Remove the skin and the bones if you're going to use the chicken legs. You haven't got to have any finesse with this, it doesn't matter. This won't be in the finished soup, so don't stress too much about getting this perfect. The bones, I got this a little bit out of sequence in the video. I did this just as I put the vegetables and the carcass in the oven, and I quickly added the bones that I took out of the thighs and the drumsticks into that tray. So roughly prepare your vegetables, the meatpie vegetables, for the raft. You can take a little bit more care than you did for the stock, but don't worry about this too much, because after we've diced these all up, it's all going to get minced in a food processor. Oh, by the way, you need a food processor to make this consommé. Sorry if you're only just finding that out now, and now you're stopping and you're cursing me. I do apologise. So you've got your vegetables and your chicken combined. Now just a case of separating your eggs. I'm sure you've done this before, but this is the method I like. Pass it from one side of the shell to the other. Don't throw away those egg yolks though. You can learn how to make a custard or a creme brulee. That'd be lovely. So that revolting looking stuff is the vegetables, the chicken meat and the egg whites all blitzed into a sort of homogeneous, messy, horrible mixture. But it's going to make the most wonderful filter, because that's basically what the raft is. It filters out all the bits of impurity and cloudiness from a stock to make it into this deliciously crystal clear consommé, which I keep promising you we're going to make. Let's hope we get it right. Key things here. Cold. I've got a, obviously not a hot saucepan, but that mixture's been chilled in the fridge. The stock I have made, I've cooled it all the way down to, at least down to room temperature. If you can do this hours before, have it in the fridge so it's actually cold. I'm just taking off a little bit there to give you a little before and after comparison later on. Now this is going to look all wrong for a while, so it's important that you watch this in my video to realise that it's not wrong. So when you're doing it, you'll have the confidence to carry on. So basically, you got to stir this. You got to get it over to the stove. Obviously, you're not going to be able to cook it on your work surface, and put it on a medium-low heat and stir it constantly until, well, basically, I'll come back to you in a minute. But you're going to think this is wrong. Just persevere with it, keep stirring it. I'm using editing to cut through this. It took about 10 minutes for it to warm up enough so that it started forming this raft, and I'll come back to you then. Those eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed I changed my spoon. I wasn't sure whether the wooden spoon I had was working well enough, but actually it was. But what you do need to do, you need to stop this raft mixture from catching on the bottom of the pan. That's quite important, okay? That's why the constant stirring. Anyway, come back to you when it's warm enough. Right, you can see we're getting there, so I'm slowing down now. And in fact, I would recommend a little bit less stirring than I'm doing. I think I'm agitating it a bit too much. It looks like a horrible split mixture. let this raft form, and then when it's more like a soft crust, you can just pierce a hole in the middle, because you do need a hole in the middle. This is, and I'll explain why when you see it happening. It should become obvious at that stage. There you go. Hopefully that's making sense now. So it forms a crust. That's all the proteins in the meat, the egg whites and the vegetables. They formed a crust, but that little gap in the middle allows this now to very gently simmer. Turn your heat down very low so that it's barely what chefs would call ticking rather than simmering, or a very slow simmer. And then what we're going to do every now and again is we're going to, with a ladle, collect some of the clarifying stock from the middle and pour it over the raft. And you can repeat that process every few minutes, and you want to do this for up to around about an hour. And bear in mind that raft is also adding flavour to your consommé, because it's got lots of lovely chicken and vegetables in it. There I am there. I'm just sort of thinking, okay, here we go. Let's make this proper little gap in the raft. And you can see already the effect it's had. That liquid is getting really clarified. I do believe it's working. It's been ages since I've made a consommé, so I was very pleased that it actually turned out and I remembered how to do it. It's definitely worth having a go at every now and again. It's not that scary. It seems like one of those mystical things, a bit like a souffle or something like that, but actually they're not that hard as long as you follow the method. That's really, really important into this. This is when cooking becomes a science. But we're getting there anyway. I'll come back to you when it's going to be time to pass this. Now is the time to pass it. I have next to me a fine sieve, but also in there I have some muslin cloth. I do recommend you get some of that. It's easy to find in craft shops. Or if you don't have that, perhaps a brand new J cloth or a very, very clean tea towel, but something very, very fine that will take out any other bits, because, well, you can see what I'm doing there. Using the ladle, trying to squish it down, and then I give up in the end. I want to get the last few drops out, so I pour it in that way. And just to demonstrate what's left in the pan, doesn't look very nice. I had a taste. It tasted alright actually, but what we really want is what's in here, and I'm very pleased with that. One thing I noticed, and you may notice with the light on the shimmering on the surface, there is a tiny residue of fat left on it. What you can do is, if you make this a day before you need it, you pop that in the fridge. That fat will help just to slightly solidify it on the surface, and with a spoon you can get it off a bit easier. But you know, earlier I reserved a little bit of the pre-clarification from the stock, so I'll just get that ready now, and hopefully this will come across reasonably clear. That is pre and that is after. Very clear to very cloudy to very clear. I haven't put any garnish with this. Feel free to have a little bit of a cooked chicken meat and some vegetables to sit in there, whatever you fancy really, or some nice fresh herbs. For the purposes of this video, I just wanted to show you how nice it looks in a china bowl. I'm very happy with that. Give it a go. Let me know in the comments how you get on. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching Uncle Matt's Cookery Lessons again. I hope you like it. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video, which will come in really soon. Bye.